to the RB build on the S13. Thank you for all the nice comments we've been getting about the build. If you're loving it, put a comment down below or ping me a message if you've got any questions as well. Today is all about test fitting stuff. So we are going to clean up the sump, clean up the subframe, get a steering rack on there, get that bolted up onto the engine. We are then going to get the engine together with a clutch flywheel and get the gearbox mounted on, and we are going to test fit. We're going to make sure that we have clearances on everything. So what do I need to know? I need to know whether the gearbox mount is going to fit. So that's one of the things to do and modify if we need to. I think the SR21 might be okay to use, but we'll see. I need to know if clearance-wise we're going to have enough clearance on the top of the engine, because we're actually going to be running different cam covers as well, and they're a little bit taller. And everything I've heard is it might hit the engine, so we might have to modify the engine mounts. Also, for the front of the engine, where the radiator and intercooler is, we're going to have to do some modifying there as well. We'll do that all in one episode, where we're going to have to fit an oil cooler, the air conditioning lines and cooler, the aftermarket radiator and an intercooler in there as well. So that should be fun. But for today, it's getting everything together, getting it test fitted in, and seeing for the first time this engine in the 180SX engine bay. So I've cleaned up the sump and sprayed around where we did the weld, so we're not going to get any rust or anything there. I've also cleaned it off, as you can see, through the piles of gasket sealant on the floor here. And I've taken the subframe off the car and given that a good old jet wash along with the steering rack. I'm always surprised how well those come up with a proper good clean and jet wash. So now it's time to put the rack on the subframe and then mount that all up to here. And then we can start looking at taking this off the stand and getting the gearbox mounted up. Clearance number one to test, this one here, making sure we've got enough room in there for that to go through, and that looks all good. There's plenty of room there, so that should be absolutely fine. So the next thing to do is to put the engine in place. We're going to sit on some axle stands here, but to make sure I get the right place, I've come up with this genius idea. This is about as technical as I get. I've made a plumb line, so just attached it onto the subframe bolt up here, run it down and put a screwdriver on the end for weight. I'm just going to mark that on the floor and do the same with all four of the subframe bolts, and then we can put it so we mount our subframe bolts above those points, and that will give us certainly the rough location rather than being a foot out. So also, because there's two locations, it should mean our gearbox mount is in roughly the right place as well. Okay, we're getting there, we're pretty far in with a bit of jiggling around. The issue here was the throttle body sticking out too far for the chassis leg, so I've had to move it diagonally that way. I've marked on the floor where it should be to go back into line for where we need it, so as soon as we've cleared here, we can shift it across, which is just about now. The only thing I'm thinking is I'm going to have to move this fuse box here out of the way, because it looks like as soon as I turn this engine, we're going to smack straight into it. So a couple of 10 mils will get that out. So we've moved the fuse box. Next issue I've come across is that the clutch master cylinder looks to be fouling on the Greddy intake. So I'm going to pop that off for the moment, just undo the two bolts and slide that off from this side. But what we'll do is we'll try it back on once the engine's in place, just to see if we've got enough clearance. Otherwise, we're probably going to need some sort of shorter clutch master cylinder. So I went to check which gearbox brace I needed, and by sheer luck, the actual one required for this is this one here, which happens to come on an SR20 DE Auto box and fits up perfectly. Now obviously I knew it would fit up to the chassis okay, but the fact that the mountings for this gearbox are in exactly the right place as well is absolutely perfect. Okay, and there it is, an RB25 DET sat in a 180SX. I know it's not revolutionary, there's plenty of people who've done this swap, but it makes me smile. I'm excited. So, as you saw, the gearbox mount worked out perfectly, which is great. Next thing I want to look at is clearance, and even right now from there, you can see that that we're going to have issues with the bonnet clearing. So, thinking we're going to have to do something with the engine mounts to help sit this further down. And my worry is about the sump and how that's going to affect that. But I'll have a look at that and do some measurements in a mo. But if you thought it's bad now, wait till. There we have it. RB26 covers fitted. They've been nicely modified by Bob Dove Motorsports. That's Mikey up there who did this. A nice bit of metal work. And they're going to look fantastic once they're powder coated as well. So, good news. What does fit? Let's start with that. So, the brake master cylinder and booster fits. That's all great. Loads of room there. Turbo fits in. And I've tried the downpipe on. That all looks good. So, we're all good there. That's where the good news ends. What doesn't fit? Right. First of all, the engine. We are sitting proud here, so we would not be able to fit the bonnet on as that sits at the moment. Especially with these covers, they don't help. But I'm thinking we can either modify the metal part of the engine mount, so weld this closer to here, or we can buy a shorter version of the mount itself on there. So there's a couple of different solutions we can do. I just want to have a look at which one I think will be best and safest. The breathers, I tried the breather pipes on here, and the 90 that I've got up here comes, the 90 that I've bought for here comes actually above the bonnet line. And as you can see, this lovely Cusco strut brace that I've had kicking around and saved for about 2 years to put on this car is not going to fit with the RB26 covers either, because it completely takes over where that is. So we'll take that off and have to find a different solution for that. The other one, and probably the most important one, is the clutch master cylinder. So we had a clutch master cylinder fitted here. I took it out when we put the engine in a moment ago, but it does hit on the aftermarket Gredi intake. So I'm going to have to look at a solution for that, possibly off a different Nissan. I've had a look on a few forums, so I'll let you know what we managed to find out for that one. But the engine is in. It's looking great. I'm really happy. Good, cool. This is the vision I wanted. Going to keep everything nice and clear. Going to have running AC. Going to have a 300 to 400 horsepower S13 with an RB engine in. That will do nicely. So stay tuned for the next one. In the next one, we are going to be solving hopefully all of those problems, and also taking this front end apart so that we can customize this to be able to fit the air conditioning radiator, the aftermarket radiator, the intercooler, and an oil cooler down there as well. So it's going to take some modifying, because I also want to run the OE fan shroud. So we'll see if it's possible. But remember to hit subscribe, remember to hit the notifications button, the little bell, and that will tell you as soon as the video comes live, and then you can see how I get on. Any suggestions welcome.
Yeah. Raising the Tobagos, we growing like fresh tomatoes. Them boys on fire, too fuego. We pass it round, hot potato. Everything is new wavo. I'm with my sweetie like Quavo. Need my cheese, need that queso. Need my bread, need that bankroll. Wake up, yes Lord, I'm thankful.